Galansza is an absolute unit. This is the character that I've played the most since the release of Endless Ragnarok, and if you guys have caught any of my live streams, you'll no doubt have seen me spin to win quite a few times. Now, there's a lot of different ways to build Galansza with the new master trait system, but the way that I've chosen to build him is Tanky Galansza. This makes him very useful, both as a character that you might want to main, because it allows you to tank through a lot of the game's mechanics, but also if you just want to have a teammate that is actually going to draw aggro from enemies so that you can go ahead and deal damage with impunity, and I'm going to tell you how to build them for both those effects, as well as there's going to be a more defensive build and a more offensive build for those of you that still want that Galansza damage with a lot of tankiness added to it. So, without any further ado, let's jump right in. We're going to be jumping into the gear here. So for the more tanky Galansza build, this is the build that you want to do if you are playing as him and you just want to tank through tons of mechanics. We're going to be using the Defender, which is called the Contester, whatever, the Defender weapon, the one that gives you lots of health as well as a lot of defensive skills. This is the weapon that I've used throughout most of my progression in Endless Ragnarok, and it is definitely one of the better weapons for Galansza in my opinion. Now, the best weapon is going to be either the Ascension weapon or the Terminus weapon, depending on whether or not you want to have more than 200,000 health on your Galansza. But the one that I like using throughout a lot of the experience is this one, the Defender. Now, in terms of traits, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be equipping Regen with Garrison on slot number 4. For those of you that don't know, you can swap the traits of these weapons as you transcend them, so you just press down on left stick, and you get to choose a couple of skills here. Obviously, you want to make sure that you have damage cap leveled up all the way. In the Contester, you can only have this on your level 3 skill. Then you have Garrison at level 10, you have Regen at level 25, and if you upgrade the weapon all the way, you're also going to get Unbound Exertion, which is not super useful. It increases the damage cap on your Skybound art, but it's whatever. Now, naturally, you're going to be wanting to have Gladiator's Awakening and Gladiator's Warpath. The one that I have is actually not very good because it has attack damage. This would be much better if you could get, like, I don't know, either Regen, Drain, or Aegis on here. Probably be a whole lot better because it would free up some space for some other skills. Then we were actually quite lucky. We got a War Elemental with Steel Nerves. Steel Nerves is a skill that you're going to want to have somewhere in your build. It is very important because it is going to basically synergize with Stout Heart and Crabvestment returns. So in order to get Crabvestment returns, for those of you that don't know how to do it, is you have to find all the wee pincers in the different chapters of the game and all that good stuff. You're going to have to look up a different guide for that because I can't go over all of that because that's like hours. There's a really good guide by Mr. Happy that tells you all the crab locations. You need to go find all those. Then you're going to be able to get this sigil, which is Crabvestment returns. You guys are wondering, what exactly does Crabvestment returns do? It increases your HP by 20% and it gives you 10% passive damage cut, which is really good. Then you have Stout Heart. Now, Stout Heart makes it so that you can't be interrupted by foe attacks, and then that is going to synergize really nicely with Steel Nerves because it's going to make it so that you take less damage while Stout Heart is active. So that's minus 15% damage. So at this point, you're already stacking. Like, I don't think it's additive, it's probably like multiplicative, whatever. I don't know the exact math, but you're stacking loads of damage reduction straight off the bat, okay? That's what this combo does. Crabvestment returns, Stout Heart, and Steel Nerves. So I happen to have it on War Elemental, which is really good. Then naturally you're going to want to have some Spartan Echoes, Zerker Echoes. If you can get like some sup damage in there, that's also very good. But it's going to be very hard to get all of those skills, especially if you're one of those players that wants to get like beta and gamma stuff, because that's just so many different slots you're going to be putting in here. Like I said, I have sacrificed some damage to increase Galansza's tankiness, and that's just kind of like a little bit of a give and take that you're going to be doing. But anyway, you got Spartan Echo in here with Drain. Now, another aspect of this build is that we're going to be stacking both Drain as well as Regen as well as Divergence. What does that mean? It means that when you're hitting the monsters, because you're going to be spinning a lot, whenever you're hitting monsters, you're draining. Whenever you're not hitting monsters, and even while you're hitting monsters, you're also regenning, both from the regen as well as from Divergence. So you're getting loads of health back. And on top of it, you have Garrison, you have Stronghold in the imbued traits as well. I think that this particular Rightstone that I have is something that you might get from one of the quests. I forget exactly where I got this, but I got Stronghold. Stun power is also very good. Attack is whatever, it's not really that big of a deal. But yeah, you're going to be stacking all of these crazy effects to a nasty degree. Now, naturally, you still have Zerker Echo. Now, the best Zerker Echo I was able to get in here is Uplift. Like I said, if you're able to get one with like Drain or Regen or some other defensive skill like Aegis, that is way better, but, you know, it is what it is. Then we have Divergence here with Fatebreaker. So this is something that I actually did Sigil Synthesis on. If you guys want to know how to use Sigil Synthesis or even Transmarvels and all of that good stuff, look in my channel for the ultimate guide. I'm going to try to link it on the top right-hand side here or in the description. And in that guide, I tell you how to do Transmarvel and Sigil Synthesis and all of that good stuff, and there's going to be timestamps on there so you guys can check that out. But I basically made this one because Fatebreaker increases damage cap, which is something that you want, and Divergence is a really good skill. Now, I'm actually not going to have this in my build because I'm going to be getting Divergence from summons, but I'm trying to show you guys all of the skills that are important naturally. So then we have damage cap with Aegis. Now, you do want damage cap with Aegis and not greater Aegis if you're using this particular weapon, because this weapon already comes with full greater Aegis from the get-go, so you want to combine the greater Aegis with a regular Aegis because that is going to actually increase your health astronomically. As you can see, we have 370,000 health, which is just absolutely redonkulous numbers. Then we have a damage cap with Drain, and then we have a double damage cap, which again you can do through the use of Sigil Synthesis. Again, go to the guide, see how you do Sigil Synthesis. I have a tutorial in there. And then we have a regen/drain so that we get as much regen and as much drain as we can possibly get. So if you guys go and you see, we have level 41 drain and level 40 regen. So it's not maxed out on any of them, but both of them are giving you lots of health back, whether you are hitting monsters or you're just idling. Now, you'll notice that my Divergence is level 28 because, like I said, I am going to be starting to get my Divergence from summons as opposed to getting them from sigils, but I just wanted, you know, Divergence basically caps at 15, so you should have Divergence somewhere. But yeah, that is the build. This is what it looks like. I'm kind of just like cycling through all of the different skills and all of that good stuff. Now, this is the more defensive version of the build. This is kind of like, you know, Tanky Gallanza. Now, beyond Tanky Gallanza, we have slightly less tanky Galansza, but with more damage Galansza. So there's not really a whole lot of difference other than we're going to be using his Ascension weapon, which is pretty beast. We have also in here stun power, Aegis, and attack. And then we have pretty much all of the same sigils. The difference is Spartan Echo comes with regen. I forget if the Spartan Echo that I have in the other one comes with regen or drain. But again, we're just balancing out the stats, right? So the damage cap, instead of having Aegis, is going to have greater Aegis because the weapon itself already comes with Aegis because of my imbued traits, as you guys can see there. But basically that's it. You're still getting that greater Aegis with Aegis combo so that you get redonkulous amounts of health. You've got that damage cap with Drain, you got a double damage cap, and then we have a double regen because the whole point is to balance out regen and drain, and this time we have max out regen, and we have like 38 drain instead because that's what we were able to get, but beyond that, the combo is pretty much the same. You got your Steel Nerves, you got your Stout Heart, you got your Crabvestment returns, and you're stacking as many defenses as you possibly can on top of that while still maintaining damage caps and, you know, uplifts, not really uplifts, but like all of the defensive skills that I've been putting into Galansza. These are the two builds. Now, if you want to use them on your team as an NPC, I would recommend the more offensive build because NPCs most of the time are going to perfect dodge pretty much every mechanic. So I would recommend the more offensive build, so the build that we have right now. The main difference is going to be in skills. So if you're playing Galansza yourself, the skills that I'm going to recommend are Martial Spear, Eye of the Storm, Explosive Plunge, and Deathmatch Finale. The reality is you don't really need many of these skills. It is pretty much whatever, because usually you're going to be spinning most of the time to begin with, because spinning is going to be the biggest source of your damage, but I still like casting skills, and these are the skills that I found to be the most useful ones, because with Explosive Plunge, you get a gap closer that also does massive amounts of AoE for whenever you're doing conflicts or anything of that nature that involves multiple targets. Eye of the Storm is one of the hardest hitting attacks that Galansza has, and on top of it, you're also permanently blocking while doing it, and Martial Spear gives you something to shoot at enemies whenever they are far away from you. So it's pretty cool, and it's a pretty neat skill to do because it comes with a gap closer in the end as well. Now, Deathmatch Finale is just a more optimal way for you to maintain your deathmatch. That whenever you feel like you need a deathmatch right now, you can pop Deathmatch Finale and you're good to go. Now, like I said, this is the skill set if you are playing Galansza yourself. If you want Galansza to be basically an NPC to take aggro for you, you replace Deathmatch Finale with Tip of the Spear. Because one of the things that they've done is they've actually changed hostility so that it's not more likely to be attacked. It works almost like a taunt now, which is very, very good. So basically, your NPC Galansza is going to be using this pretty much on cooldown. And I've actually had fights where I've been able to fight certain bosses with like Eugen or something like that. And Galansza is just taking aggro 100% of the time. And the boss very, very rarely targets me. So I'm not saying this is going to be something that is going to happen 100% of the time, because some bosses almost seem to have a predilection to targeting the player. But I've had a lot of bosses where I'm just like chilling in the back with Eugen, shooting away, and Galansza's just keeping the aggro nonstop. But we're going to be using Deathmatch Finale because most of the time I am playing as Galansza myself. So now let's talk about the master traits. There's a couple of lines that you can go down when it comes to Galansza. You can go down Extreme Deathmatch. This is going to make him more of a damage-dealing machine, so you're going to be doing pretty much what I'm doing now, but you're going to be less tanky because it's going to take away your defense by 15% when you reach the third rank of the third passive perk. So this is if you just want to build damage Galansza. It's not what we're doing here. This one is if you want to build skill spam Galansza, which will likely require to have some good sigils with quick cooldown, cascade, stuff like that, which I don't really have yet, so I haven't really messed around with it too much. So the one that we're going with is going to be Turbo Turbine. Turbo Turbine allows you to basically spin like a mofo, and you get additional damage from doing perfect release finishers, which I will tell you guys how to do those because they're not too hard. And on top of it, it enables you to get to Deathmatch Finale that much faster, which actually makes this one of those situations where you might want to use Tip of the Spear that I've shown you earlier instead of Deathmatch Finale if you are playing with friends and you guys want, you to actually be the tank of the team. So you can swap out Deathmatch Finale for Tip of the Spear, and that will help you. But the reason why this master trait is good is because you're going to be able to just jump into Deathmatch Finale by doing one perfect finisher, which I'll tell you guys how to do it. For now, let me just show you guys what we are working with here. So we have Turbine Attack plus 10% on Turbo Turbine, Turbine Finishers plus 10%, Damage Cap plus 20, Defense plus 5. On Put on a Show, we have HP, Damage Cap, and Skill Damage Cap. And on Extreme Deathmatch, we have Silver Wolf, Gauge Gain, Damage Cap, and more HP. Now, if we go to Turbo Turbine, on the second one, on the second rank, we have Turbine Attack, Turbine Finishers, Deathmatch Finale, Damage Cap, while inflicted with burn 100%. The reason we do this, you might be like, well, I could do, Essence rank when you collapse. If you're collapsing, you're doing it wrong. You need to avoid collapsing. Sometimes it happens. It happens to me all the time because I mess up, because there's too much stuff happening on screen. Makes it hard to track how much you've spinned. But if you're collapsing, you're doing it wrong, so usually I just go for more damage cap if I'm burning for whatever reason. Then additional HP. Then in Style Rank 3, we go Turbine Damage Cap 35%. Turbine Perfect Finishers gain additional damage dealt. I don't really feel the need to resume charging Turbine after dodging. That might be useful, like maybe you swap this one with this one or the attack one, because we're probably hitting damage cap anyways. So, one of these two might come over here if you want to have that functionality. For now, I've been doing this and it's been working fine. I very rarely dodge out of Turbine. I just like tank through things most of the time, so it is whatever. But anyway, continuing onwards, attack plus 20%, chain burst damage cap plus 40%. These are the skills that we're taking in Turbo Turbine. Then if we go to Put on a Show, skill damage cap 35, damage cap 20%, additional HP. Wild Showman grants additional 3%, so we do use skills every now and then, and this makes it so that skills deal even more damage. Attack plus 20 because, there's actually a skill damage cap here. I didn't notice this. I'm actually going to replace that. Never mind. So we're going to take skill damage cap 35% because we don't need that attack 20%. We're already grossly above the damage cap that we currently have, so it's not really that big of a deal. And then on style rank 3, we go damage cap and HP per defense / support type sigil. I don't even know if this thing is doing anything. We might as well go critical hit rate 25. Like, let me see. Does this even change my health really quickly here? It does. It does. We do have some defensive ones. Okay, never mind. We do have to do that. Sorry, guys. It's like I've been streaming the game nonstop, and yeah. See, look at this. Look at this health. Where is it? Gear. Yeah, that's way more health. So it is doing work. So yes, that is the one you want to have. But yeah, damage cap 30%, HP 10,000 per defense or support type sigil, and then on extreme deathmatch. We have Silver Wolf gauge gain, damage cap 20%, max HP 15,000, Silver Wolf gauge gain, damage cap 25%. I wouldn't really change anything here, even though you might be like, oh, but Tip of the Spear lasts 10% more. Don't really care. Then we have attacks damage cap plus 35% for Y attacks, which is really good because you're going to be doing a lot of Y attacks. So yeah, there's a couple of things in here that are pretty good for you to get a little bit more defense, which now that I think about it, it's kind of weird how the Extreme Deathmatch one is trying to offset the defense that it's taken away. Weird. I might have to explore this a bit more, but again, this is the build that we've been working with. There's so many different variables nowadays when it comes to this stuff that, yeah, it can get pretty crazy. Naturally, masteries, you want to have everything because, you know, obviously. So you want to upgrade all of your weapons, get all of your things. And in terms of overmastery, you want to go for some damage caps, as many damage caps as you can get. Mine is not super min-maxed yet because mastery points are going to become one of your biggest bottlenecks as you progress with this particular playstyle. So now let's talk about how you're actually going to play Galansza. So, the way that his combo goes is Galansza has a gauge, which is called the deathmatch gauge. Every time you hit an enemy, it is going to increase. So your objective is going to be in deathmatch for as much as possible so that you can basically spin like a mofo and just deal all the damage in the world. That's kind of like going to be your main objective. You want to get to deathmatch as fast as you can. So like I said, you get access to deathmatch from the get-go by using the deathmatch finale skill. So, boom! Deathmatch Finale. That changes the way that your moveset works. So what you want to be doing in Deathmatch Finale, depending on how aggressive the boss is being, if the boss is being really aggressive, you can just instantly start spinning by pressing Y. But usually if you have enough time, you'll want to go ahead and do some perfect X's or cross attacks where your character jumps like this, then you press it at the very end. And if you press it at the very end, you will notice that your character, it glows. There's a little flash of light that shows up. Let me just go into deathmatch mode. We're going to do a little bit of a spin to win here. Into deathmatch mode. Okay. And as I was saying, if you guys press X or square, at the very moment that you hit, you'll notice that it flashes yellow. And then eventually it's going to flash blue. When it flashes blue, you're going to hit Y or triangle, and your character is going to go into a spin. See, yellow, yellow, blue, press Y, because that is going to be the maximum turbine level. Then you're going to wait until there's a couple of lightnings and your screen flashes red. Like that, and then you're going to release. And when you release, he's going to do that finisher that is a perfect finisher. Oh wait, we killed the target dummy? I didn't even know that was a thing. Okay, sir, barreled. Why would you do this? Let me go ahead and just put infinite HP. It's because for damage caps and whatnot, you want to have them in Chaos Plus. But regardless of that, let's say you don't have Deathmatch Finale up and you're like, oh, I'm not in Deathmatch mode. This is annoying. I want to go to Deathmatch mode. Because of the style that we're going with, the Turbo Turbine, if we do a perfect finisher while you're not in deathmatch mode, is going to instantly fill the gauge. So the way you do perfect finishers, again, like I just told you, you spin until you see like a red flash in the screen and some lightnings pop up. Like so. Wait for it. That was the blue one. That's not the one. So you have to wait for the second one. That's a blue. One more. Boom. And that will fill up your gauge instantly and send you into Deathmatch Finale. Now, the important thing is there are 2 speeds to spinning. Well, actually, there's 3 speeds to spinning. When you're in Deathmatch Finale, if you are spinning, you're already on the 2nd speed. And now you're on the 3rd speed because you got the first flash. And now you have to release when you get the 3rd flash. Okay? But the thing is, if you do the little combo thing I told you, of doing like 3 perfect combos, and then going into Y, you're on the final speed of spinning. So this is why it's important to do that, because it allows you to always be on maximum speed, maximum damage, all of that stuff, and then you release as soon as you see the red and the lightnings come up. And this is why sometimes it gets confusing, because a lot of enemies on screen, lots of garbage happening, and you're going to be like, I can't see what's going on. But the other thing is, you can spin immediately after a link attack, and if you spin immediately after the link attack, that is also going to put you on max spin. So if we go into Deathmatch Finale, link attack, instantly press Y, you're already on maximum speed. You can see which speed you're on by looking at the Y on the bottom right hand side, and it should say Turbine++. If it says Turbine++, you're on max speed. Don't forget to release always when you get that red flash with the lightning. But this is going to be the main way for you to play. You're going to do Y attacks after you do link attacks. You're going to spin immediately after link attacks. Or you're going to do your 3 combo, and then you're going to start spinning so that you get maximum speed. However, if the bosses are being annoying and they're not letting you do your 3 combo, just spin. Just remember that there's going to be 2 flashes in the screen. So there's the blue flash, and then the red flash, and then you release for the perfect finishers. Now, the reason you always want to release before the perfect finishers, because if you don't, what's going to happen is this. You're going to fall flat on the floor. You're going to let it overspin this time. And if you fall flat on the floor, you actually get a debuff that you can't spin for a while. Because, like, if I try spinning now, it's just going to fall again. So you have to wait until that debuff that's next to that damage reduction goes away. Okay? But that is pretty much how you play Galansza. Then you can use the skills however you see fit. So this is for gap closers, obviously. The martial spears, whenever enemies are far away from you, when you want to just hit them, and then get a gap closer. And Eye of the Storm is useful for tanking through attacks, but it's also one of the hardest hitting attacks that Galansza has. So it's just a big burst of damage while also blocking enemy attacks. That's kind of like the way that you play them. Now the thing is, you also have like combos that you can do if you're outside of Deathmatch Finale, but it's not super useful. Like, there's a combo you can do early on before you get like all the skills that I would recommend, which is like you go square, triangle, or X, Y, X, Y, because it kind of moves you and it lets you advance with your character whilst dealing damage. So it's good for like chasing down small targets and whatnot. But that's usually the way that I go about doing things with Galansza. Alright? So hopefully this guide helps you out getting as much as you possibly can out of Galansza. Another recommendation that I would give to you if you really want to pick super tanky Galansza, like really top of the line tanky Galansza, I would also recommend that you include the captain in your party. Well, I'm including the captain. I'm sure that there might be other characters that do something similar, but if you include captain in your party and you give captain the phalanx skill, well, you guys can read what it says there. You just get like 40% to 70% of damage reduction from time to time. And that is when you get really tanky. Obviously, you still have to build Captain up to be able to do that. I believe that Cagliostro also has a shield or something like that, but there might be other characters that have a shield. I just happen to select the Captain to do that. But Captain with 40 to 70% damage reduction and a lot of other things like Revive and Clarity and Dispel, it is going to grossly increase your survivability on top of an already super survivable character. So, I do hope you guys check out Galansza. Galansza is a ton of fun. Let me know what you guys think about the build below. Do you guys think that there's a way to make this even better? Do let me know, because like I said, it's still early days of Endless Ragnarok, so more stuff can be learned. But for now, this is how I'm playing Galansza. Thank you all very much for watching. If this was useful for you in any way, hit the like button, subscribe, and notification icon for more Endless Ragnarok content. Thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.